Let's start with this. Niko Sigur has committed to Canada. This is not any relation to Bob Seger.
I was going to say.
Oh. Although, wouldn't it be a great nickname? Shakedown. Right?
Oh,
I think we've got to give Nico a nickname. Shakedown.
You're going very, very Beverly Hills Cop for that, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be the same era, right? Mid-80s.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It is Shakedown. That's from Beverly Hills Cop 2, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah, Bob Seger.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Or was it Glenn Fry? But I thought it was Bob Seger. Yeah.
Same guy. Same thing, really.
Yeah, they're close.
Bob Seger. But yeah,
well, then the question of the day would be then, has Canada become a destination for dual nationals? That's the question of the day. And I'll throw it to Dubs.
Oh boy.
With this signing, or with this decision, it's not a signing, but with this decision, does it change? Does Jesse Marsch start winning? And we talked about Jesse Marsch before being not only a great coach and tactical, but also a great personality to bring people here.
Yeah, he is. And I think that the Copa America performance and what that did, not only for individual players to get visibility and to get moves, but I think it vaulted Canadian soccer up to new heights and to a new standing. And we've talked a lot about how the program's perceived. I think this drone scandal aside, but I think that the on-pitch performance, and then Marsh himself, the way he spoke about the team, the way that they just presented themselves on that stage, I think will go a long way to converting or to attracting these dual nationals. And Marsh himself has talked about players like Alphonso Davies, who could have played for Liberia. He talked about Stefan Eustáquio, who could have played for Portugal, how these are like this is a quote, like his blue chip spokesman for these type of players, like a Seager. Seager? I want to say Seager.
Yeah,
Seager.
We'll go with that. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah. So, who was in a youth system for Croatia and looked like he was going to be tied there. I mean, Marsh has already cap tied Tani Oluwaseyi, right? Oluwaseyi? Oluwaseyi. I'm going to get it one day, you guys.
You said it really well.
I don't think the emphasis is on the Shea part.
Oluwaseyi? Oluwaseyi.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll find out in the September friendlies.
So on his way there. So I think what they're doing on pitch is changing minds and making Canada really attractive in the way of these dual nationals. And he talked about the development system in Canada, how a player like Moise Bambito can't go unrecognized or unidentified, how there's a lot that needs to change in that regard. CPL didn't put pressure on them, but is in learning more about it, wants young players to get tested, have the responsibility of these professional game minutes. So I think that it's two-pronged with Marsh in. It's not only setting standards on the pitch for his first team, but it's also what's going to happen in the way of development as you're going up through the pro ranks or the national team youth teams to the first team or to the senior team, but then also how we're recruiting worldwide for players who have been identified. So I think it's a really exciting time right now for Canadian soccer as we look towards 2026, but I think more importantly, beyond, and what's happening on both sides and in the NSL coming next year and how that's going to change the pathway to pro, but also the pathway and the types of players, the profiles, players that don't fall through the cracks anymore, like that you cast your net really wide and that you're developing all kinds of different players who one day might be on that pitch representing Canada. I think it's really cool.
Nico's pathway is fascinating too, right? I mean, he went through League One. He was at York University as well under Carmen Asako. We should get Carmen on the show actually at some point. Very few guys in Canada know more about the youth system in Canada and what we have at the raw level here than Carmen Asako. But is some pathway. And by the way, hat tip to Josh Cloak at The Athletic who had this story. He goes to Croatia, Hajduk Split, and actually commits to Croatia. And John Herdman was after him. He was on John's radar. And John tried to recruit him, but then he committed to Croatia, but then does this flip after, I think, almost 50 games, Hajduk Split in various competitions.
Sorry, Sharms, when did he, I'm just wondering, because I remember reading a quote and he goes, it's where I want to play where I grew up. What age did he jump over to Croatia? Because I saw it was under the under-20 team, right? It was recently,
yeah, but
right?
he grew up, he's born and bred, though, in Canada.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he said, I want to play for the nation I grew up in. And then, so he's full-on Canadian, right?
Yeah,
right. He's born in Burnaby. Spent his entire childhood in Canada. Joined the Whitecaps Academy in 2018. Won the youth championships with the Caps, and then he joined League One playing for the Vaughan Azzurri, and then 1 year at York University, as Sharm said, and then he went to Croatia after that.
I wonder, was he with Alfonso? I wonder, at Vancouver at that time.
Oh, the crossover.
Possibly.
Maybe, but how old's Fonzie now?
24. No, I don't think they're too like
Keep
that.
talking,
Seven,
I think I
4
let my
years
dog.
apart. I think 3 or 4 years apart.
I let my dog outside. I'll be right back.
I'll take over for Sharms. It's cool.
Who? Sharms did. Sharms let the dog
out. So Alfonso. Sorry,
was that going to be Sharms?
Yeah, that was my Sharms.
You're usually quite good with your Sharms.
Yeah, well, you know what? I like it's they're big shoes to fill. So I'll try again. Pie. No, that wasn't good. Let's try this one. Would you like some pie? No.
You're too.
Hey, it's me, James. Would you like to try one of my new shrimp pies? They're delicious. Yes, come on down to Sharman's Proper Pies. One of my James Sharman.
You do good Australian. You do good.
That was Austrian, actually. Austrian.
Yeah. I was gonna say that I try to imbue my hosting persona with James Sharman. It's like some really heavy-handed pie filling analogy. I'm not going to go there because it'll end up sounding sexual and gross.
A bit crusty.
But when I'm hosting, or sometimes when I'm talking, I go too fast, and it's I want to get my thoughts out. I want to hit all the points that I want to hit, but sometimes there's a lot of benefit, or a lot can be said for just kind of slowing it down. And Sharms, you do that really well. Where it's conversational, and you hit all the points, and it doesn't ever sound contrived. And occasionally when I'm hosting, I've got stuff noted, and I feel like it can kind of sound a little bit robotic.
No, you know what, Dubs, is a good point, and it just comes at reps, because you also enter the media world as a pundit. So you have all these ideas and these opinions you want to get out there as a pundit, and then you put the hosting hat on, and you still want to get those out, but you can't always get them all out. Right. Yeah. So that's why, and that's the secret. And we discussed this before. You frame a question with an opinion. And that's how you get them both in there. And that's what I love doing. Because it allows you to.
Sorry.
No, that's the best way of doing it. Here's my opinion. Here's a question for you to actually prove me wrong as an ex-pro, because obviously as ex-pros, you know so much more than idiots like us who never played the game and aren't worth listening to.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? By the way, my dog was locked out. The little one was, and she's a trembling wreck when she's not near the big dog. So she was freaking out, and now I feel terrible. But she made it.
But she's okay. She's
fine. It's not winter. She wouldn't. If it was winter, she wouldn't have lasted by now. She would have been done.
And someone's called the SPCA on you now. So that's the next knock on the door.
If it's not them, it's child services. Jesus.
For all those teenagers in your basement.
Teenagers in the basement.
Yeah.
Back to Nico Seager. So from Josh's athletic column, Seager says, it was an honor to represent Croatia, which is a football superpower and which is my family's homeland. But with the passage of time, I felt that I wanted to represent the country where I grew up and started my football career, Canada. I appreciate the open communication and understanding of this decision by the Croatian Football Federation, and I thank the coaches and teammates in the national team for the time I spent as a young Croatian national team member. I will always be a big fan of Croatia, to whom I wish good luck and success. Who did he in the World Cup when Canada played Croatia? Who was Nico supporting, one wonders? One day we'll get him on the show and we'll ask him that question.
Yeah, it's going to be like, I forget what weekend it is, where Ipswich Town faces West Ham, but it will be the young Craig versus the old head Craig professional, right?
Whoa, who wins that battle?
Yeah, like who does he have the best feelings for, and what Twitter fight happens because of that? Like he's going to be torn.
See, I think old Craig is far more curmudgeonly than young Craig, obviously.
But young Craig
was curmudgeonly.
Oh, curmudgeonly.
But but young Craig was a great guy, very friendly, full of energy. I still think that still lives somewhere in Craig now and again. We see it if we pull it out, but it'd be an interesting argument between the two of them.
Yeah, and does that mean Ipswich Town is kind of the happy-go-lucky Craig, and the West Ham days are the curmudgeonly, hey, I'm a little getting cynical here, and that's what you get. Yeah, slightly jaded. And you see them fight off. It's like the Seinfeld George
divided against himself.
Yes.
Exactly what it's like. It'd be a fun.
You're killing independent George.
Yes. Well, we're gonna have to do a watch party with Craig, right?
Both Craigs, right? Yeah, we should do
Craigs.
that. Yeah, but that's right. Happy-go-lucky Craig. That's what I was trying to find the right frame. But you nailed it. Happy-go-lucky Craig against the new Craig. It's like when you have a conversation with your dad, right? Very similar. I don't know.
Hey, if you ever do have a conversation with my dad, let me know where he is. I appreciate that.
That's dark.
That's so dark.
Ask him where he went.
But so funny.
I'm right here.
My favorite kind of
JC.
humor.
I'm right over here. Just come and talk to me, pal.
Before we move off of Craig and the kind of jaded, or like happy-go-lucky, youthful Craig versus more experienced, aging, jaded Craig, do you think that there's a mark on that timeline of Forrest and his professional career, but also just Forrest as a human when he started to lose his hair?
When did Craig jump the shark?
A little bit. I think
Craig
like testicular cancer aside, and how that coincided, like that was the end of his career and not done in the right way, right? When did he start to lose his hair? This is a significant point in a man's life. Though.
I think you're right. That's when curmudgeonly Craig ate and consumed happy-go-lucky Craig when he realized he was losing some hair.
In vitro.
Yeah, in vitro. You can now again find a tooth.
He's got a little
like the aunt in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, right? She's like, this lamp, always the lamp. It was my twin.
That's inappropriate. I find it offensive. Demand an apology.
Oh God.
Yeah. So that's Nico Seager.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's analysis.
I want to bring this back to one more comment about just the change in Jesse Marsch to John Herdman. We've had John Herdman on the show, and he always was a great interview, but always very guarded. Let's be honest, when we had him on, and that's not a good or bad thing. It's just who he is. And the kind of wide open arms that Jesse Marsch, after meeting him a couple times and seeing he was out in Alberta, getting like looking at their development in Alberta, he's been all over the world pushing Canada soccer, gets asked that question at Copa, what about the US men's national team? He's like, no, I'm coaching Canada. There's a real resolve, and it seems like a real strategic play to these dual nationals coming back our way for once, where it's a thing. It's like recruiting nonstop. And so that the gregariousness, sorry, that was a hard word, but the gregariousness of Marsh really is a strong attribute that maybe John didn't have, or maybe wasn't in his wheelhouse, because recruiting, Dubs knows, she got recruited for NCAA. It's a big thing. You make these decisions, and I would say that's the same kind of recruitment that Jesse Marsch has to do for these duels.
Yeah, but I think that the media John Herdman is quite different to the John Herdman who's going to try and bring a player over, or his team. He's
right.
Magnetic, right? He brings groups together. I can see him being very convincing. And listen, I wouldn't say he was that guarded with us.
No, I don't mean guarded that way, but he was much more like worried, not worried, but he's much more careful with his wording.
More strategized. He knew what he was going to say.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
More planned out.
Mm-hmm.
And I found just, on the meeting level, Jesse very open, and what it is what you get. There's there's nothing up the wizard's sleeve. Any of that kind of stuff.
Well,
that's what I was going to say, though. So Sharman is about reconciling those two personas. We were talking about jaded Craig and versus experienced Craig or like happy-go-lucky Craig. But I mean, if Herdman, if a player who's a dual national is coming over, maybe you see that as not being completely genuine because those personas are they're not necessarily at odds, but they're far apart. Whereas with Jesse Marsch, I don't know him from Adam, but it seems to me, again, like you said, Wong, or like what you see is really what you get, like that engaging person. Like I would argue that he's magnetic, Sharms. I mean, there was that quality about Herdman as well, but he's a salesman too, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's got the credibility on the pitch, which Herdman I think also had. But I think that, you know, seeing him in pressers, hearing him in interviews, it's the same. Whereas he's not repeating himself, but he's the same kind of engaging, magnetic guy, no matter what the platform. And I would argue that he's even more so that in a room with somebody. So like he's kind of the marketer, the salesman, all of that all wrapped up, whether it's on pitch or off pitch. And then paired with Kevin Blue, I think they're really onto something here at Canada Soccer.
Yeah, you know, Jesse Marsch also has that resume. He's coached around the world at the Premier League, which counts for a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Right? He's North America. He's got that sophistication about him, I think, which really will work well when he's trying to recruit players. Whereas John, very, like you said, magnetic too, has great success in North America, hasn't got the European component just yet, right? I'm not saying he won't. He might one day. But it is a difference, I think, when perhaps approaching a European-based player. Asa Rehman joins us, and
this is a good discussion. Asa. Yeah, I'm enjoying this. I actually had a question before we go any further. Just hearing you guys describe both Jesse Marsch and John Herdman, and Sharms, you kind of touched on just the fact that he seems very calculated. Dubs mentioned, you know, the salesy side of it. Does Jesse Marsch come off more genuine as opposed to John Herdman, where, yes, great sales pitch, but almost comes off like you're getting sold a car here and it's very aggressive, and then maybe not as genuine as Jesse's sell? And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
I haven't spoken to Jesse enough, to be honest with you, to really compare them. Only been a couple of times. And I've had some great conversations with John where I thought he was being pretty authentic, pretty real, like a good dude. And let's not get into drone gate, okay? Because people will. I can't believe you're supporting John Herdman. And
right,
stop it. Do they talk like that when they're yelling at you?
That's how they. That's
on
how.
Twitter.
That's exactly what I heard as well.
Is that how you read? Is that like your grandfather's voice?
Yeah. Yeah, and they're all English.